going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. It is episode 330, part number 2, continuing your Backlash coverage. This Backlash weekend should be a good one, I hope. We hope when it comes to WWE, man. We never know what we're going to get when they actually have a pay-per-view, especially in the pandemic era, and now especially since Paul Heyman is no longer a part of the Monday Night Raw creative. It makes me wonder what Paul Heyman had planned for Sunday night, who he wanted to come out victorious, what types of storyline plans he had in place moving forward after Backlash. Now that he's not there, I wonder what he had in place that Vince McMahon is ultimately going to change with Bruce Pritchard, now the man in charge of creative on Monday and Friday Night SmackDown. So that's what the podcast is going to be today. We got a ton of news about Paul Heyman, additional news that came out of the original reports of Paul Heyman being fired from Monday Night Raw creative. He is nothing more now than an on-air talent when it comes to Brock Lesnar's role on WWE TV whenever he makes his return to the company. So if you guys missed my initial rant, and believe me, it was a rant that legends are made of, man. I gave you all the details. I patted myself on the back, going back to last year, telling you exactly what was going to be and exactly what was on Thursday when the news broke. It's exactly what I went over last year, literally a year earlier. I am Nostradamus of the IWC. Maybe I'll change my Twitter handle. Man. Anyway, if you guys missed that rant, go and check it out. Uploaded earlier in the afternoon on Friday. I would really appreciate it. It's doing incredibly well. I know you guys wanted to hear my thoughts on it. I know you are frustrated just like I am, probably more so. I can only say so much. I can only do so much. You guys live vicariously through me. Hopefully I'm doing a good job for you. So make sure you guys go and check that out. SmackDown was on the air last night, and we're here on Off the Script as always. We talked about the AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan incredible Intercontinental Championship match, which was not the main event of Friday Night SmackDown. I don't know why, but they put on a 39-minute TV classic. Not really a 5-star classic. Some people are saying it is. I don't think so. You can't have a 5-star classic when you're interrupted by 4 commercial breaks, but it was great nonetheless, and I stated it on the podcast last night that WWE wants to pretend that the Intercontinental Championship is all prestigious now. And I certainly hope so. I hope that they change their tune. But I don't think so. I don't trust this company at all with anything, any day of the week. But if last night was any indication about where the Intercontinental Championship is going, I have no problem with what they did last night on SmackDown in that match with Bryan and Styles. Hopefully AJ could take that title and move it on into SummerSlam and we could get some great competition. Our bro is coming over next week from NXT. Maybe we get an AJ Styles and Matt Riddle Intercontinental Championship match at SummerSlam. That would be great. Take my ridge, bro. Take my ridge. I'm all for it. But Daniel Bryan, man, I thought was the clear-cut winner just because of the whole Sami Zayn wild card, but WWE went in another direction. And even though I wanted Daniel Bryan to win, I'm not complaining about what they did last night. I thought it was great. So if you guys want my thoughts on SmackDown and the Jeff Hardy Sheamus storyline with the urine sample being thrown all over Sheamus, thoughts on that are live on the channel right now. Go and check it out. Link is in the description along with anything else off the script, like I said, from Friday, AEW, NXT, Monday Night Raw. It is all there for you guys. I got you covered all week down in the description. Follow me on social media at JDfromNY206. That's on Twitter and Instagram, same @ so make sure you guys are following me all over social media. I'll be on Twitter during the show tomorrow night for Backlash, so make sure you all tweet live with me. Programming note, I'll be live tomorrow afternoon around noon before I have to go to my best friend's birthday party for his son. His son is turning 2 years old, so happy birthday, happy early birthday, Nathan. And then I'll be live on Backlash Sunday. As soon as the show goes off the air, we'll have a post-show right here on Off the Script, so make sure you guys are aware of that as well. If you want to support the podcast via Patreon, you guys know what to do there. Patreon.com/JDfromNY206. And today's podcast, if you haven't guessed, is brought to you by The Ridge. Ridge.com/scripts. I know you guys ain't happy with your wallet situation, but I got you covered with The Ridge, man. Ridge.com/script. We'll talk about them a little bit later in the show, but I want to shout out my boys over at The Ridge because they do an excellent job and they make an excellent product. Let's get on with the show, man. I don't want to hold up you or anybody else listening to me, but I got a lot of news, so let's get right into it, man. USA Network. Everybody was wondering what USA Network thinks of WWE removing Paul Heyman from Monday Night Raw Creative. Well, apparently, according to Dave Meltzer, they ain't happy. I ain't happy, you ain't happy, and now they ain't happy. Vince can't make anybody happy. Here's a fucking clue. Vince, take the hint. Nobody wants you. Nobody wants you in position anymore, man. Get out. Get out. Now, clearly, changes are going to be made. What those changes are, I don't know. I'm expecting the worst. I don't know why anybody would have any hope in WWE. Now, then, or forever. Nobody gives a shit. So Paul Heyman is gone. We don't know what Vince McMahon is going to change, what is going to remain the same from the Paul Heyman era. Fans are not happy, of course. And now, you can add the USA Network to that unhappy camp. They are not happy about Heyman being taken out of his position as the head of Raw Creative. Meltzer discussed this on the Wrestling Observer Radio with Garrett Gonzalez. He says, and I quote, "I know USA Network was unhappy with the change. Very unhappy, by the way. I don't think that they were happy with the ratings, but they understood the ratings." Let me stop right there. USA Network understood the ratings. USA Network is paying you $1 billion per this contract that you got for 5 years to house Monday Night Raw. They understand that you're in the middle of a pandemic still. They understand that you're operating with no live audience. They understand that watching the show at home is not the same anymore until things get back to normal. But Vince McMahon, he gets bored with everything. Paul Heyman barely lasted a year. Now he's putting Paul Heyman back on the toy shelf and he's taking the Bruce Pritchard toy and he's spreading the wealth of Bruce all over Monday and Friday night. Not everybody wants to play with Bruce. Maybe they wanted to play with Paul. Paul has a better idea of what's going on. I mentioned this yesterday. Paul Heyman is young enough that he understands the young talent on the show. The talent trusts him. He has a great catalog of ideas, and he knows what needs to be done in the current era of pro wrestling. Paul Heyman is one of the very few that you have in that company that is still of a right mind, that has his finger on the pulse. And what does Vince McMahon do? Now we're going to go with Bruce Pritchard because Bruce Pritchard is a cocksucker. Bruce Pritchard is a yes man. That's why we're going with Bruce. So USA Network understood. Vince McMahon can't grasp why the ratings are going down, and he is very unhappy about the ratings going down, so changes need to be made. What if it's not Paul? What if it's not Paul? What doesn't Vince McMahon understand that USA Network apparently understands? I don't get it. Paul Heyman was a scapegoat. I said this yesterday. Paul Heyman was a scapegoat for when things go bad, Vince can bring down the axe. Lead him to the guillotine, says Vince McMahon. That's exactly what he did. Now Vince McMahon put Bruce Pritchard in charge. So what happens, like I said on Friday's show, what happens when Bruce Pritchard inevitably fails, folks? And Bruce will fail. Is Vince going to fire Bruce and then blame Bruce? How could you blame Bruce when the reason you got Bruce there is because he writes the show the same way that you want the show to be written? Paul Heyman was never trusted as head writer of Monday Night Raw because Paul Heyman was never going to write a show that Vince McMahon ultimately was happy with. You see, when the cat's away, the mice will play. Can you imagine if Paul Heyman wrote a Monday Night Raw where Vince McMahon had absolutely no fucking influence over the entire 3 hours? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine what the show would really be like, what the wrestling would be like, what the storylines would be like? Give it 6 months. I guarantee you, you will definitely see change. Now imagine that. When the cat is away, the mice will play. Is Paul Heyman going to write a show that Vince McMahon is ultimately happy with if Vince McMahon just left Paul Heyman in charge? No. That's why Bruce is there, folks. And it was reported last night, when I covered this on Off the Script, that Vince McMahon was spending more time overseeing Monday Night Raw than he was on Friday, and Friday is the A show. SmackDown is the A show because it's on Fox. So why isn't Vince McMahon on the A show, but he's on the B show more than he is on the A show when he should be on the A show? Why is that? Exactly what I told you it would be, folks. Bruce Pritchard is trusted by McMahon because McMahon knows that Bruce Pritchard's going to write the show exactly how he wants. Paul Heyman was never going to write the show exactly how Vince McMahon wanted. So Paul Heyman, he was in charge. Now he's to blame. Now he's gone. So what is Vince McMahon going to do now? Now maybe he could go back to SmackDown and be on SmackDown like Fox is paying for, and he knows Bruce is going to be writing the show on Monday and Friday. So he has nothing to worry about now. But like I said, when he inevitably fails, where is Vince going to go then? Who is he going to put in that position then? And who is he going to point the finger of blame at? It's almost as if you're pointing the finger of blame at yourself because Bruce and Vince McMahon are one and the same. I can't tell the fucking difference. So USA Network is unhappy. They understood the ratings, says Dave Meltzer. They were told a long time ago that this was a rebuilding period. And it was going to take time, and they understood that. Vince McMahon even said so during the first quarter conference call to the shareholders. This type of building is going to take time. And over time, the ratings will go up when everybody gets used to who's on TV right now. So what happened? What happened between then and now? Vince got a little impatient, and now he's got to go and do things the way he used to do things. And the way he used to do things was not working. So now we're going to be right back in the same boat as we were in the beginning. The ratings were a lot higher, and then the pandemic came, and that's what really knocked it down the last 3 months. The same with SmackDown. I cannot imagine Fox being thrilled with the ratings either, considering what they were expecting, but nobody expected us to be in the middle of a fucking pandemic. End quote. This coming Monday's episode of Raw has already been taped, so don't expect any changes to the overall show this week. So the next set of tapings, that's when we'll probably see the change. But like I said yesterday as well, Heyman was long gone before this news was announced. You could have just felt it in the air. You knew that Vince McMahon was ultimately in charge of Monday Night Raw always. Paul Heyman had barely any influence. You could have seen that when Ricochet went down with the ship, Cedric Alexander went down with the ship, when Andrade, Garza, and Austin Theory started off strong for about 2 weeks, and then they were ultimately killed off. Humberto Carrillo hasn't won a fucking match since he's been on Monday Night Raw. I can't even remember the last time that motherfucker won a match. And then Shayna Baszler's off TV. Where is Paul Heyman's influence exactly? I'd like to know. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it at all. I wouldn't even be surprised if Drew McIntyre loses the WWE Championship, because we all know Drew McIntyre and his build was a Paul Heyman thing. Who's to say that Vince McMahon doesn't change that for Sunday night? Can you imagine? Can you imagine Vince McMahon looking at Drew McIntyre and it was a Paul Heyman thing? He actively changes it. What if we get Bobby Lashley winning the WWE Championship? God help us all. On Sunday, and Bobby Lashley holds it till SummerSlam, where he loses it back to Brock Lesnar, and we're right back in the Lesnar boat. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine Drew McIntyre being blamed for the fact that there's no fans in attendance and being blamed for the low ratings? Vince McMahon, if that is the case, if I see anything like that happen, man, Vince McMahon, we should, never mind starting a fucking petition for Charlotte Flair to be off television. We need to start a petition to get Vince McMahon out of power in WWE because it will never change unless we do so. This coming Monday's episode, like I said, has already been taped, so don't expect any changes until the next set of tapings. It's possible that whatever plans Heyman had for Backlash could be changed, like I mentioned. Heyman was more about pushing the younger stars, while Pritchard on SmackDown is leaning towards more established stars. So everybody that you loved on Monday Night Raw, kiss them back to catering. Titus was wondering where everybody went. Don't worry, bro. Catering is going to be packed to the brim. As previously noted, ratings for Raw have dropped since the pandemic, and some of that has to do with pushing younger stars, but the idea was that the ratings would go up once the fans got back in attendance and they got accustomed to the younger talent being pushed up the card. So much for patience, man. Patience is a virtue, they say. Vince McMahon has no virtues and no patience. Paul Heyman's departure could derail plans, like I mentioned. Let's indulge, shall we? Dave Meltzer also reported that the likes of Shayna Baszler on top of everybody else that I mentioned, Ricochet, Cedric Alexander, the Street Profits, Aleister Black, Andrade, Garza, this guy, that guy, you name it, half of Monday Night Raw's roster pretty much could be derailed. Shayna Baszler is at the top of the list. Shayna was originally supposed to win the Royal Rumble. She did not because Charlotte refused to be eliminated by an NXT talent. But she didn't mind winning the NXT fucking Women's Championship, though. And I know that is true because I was told right from the source. She was supposed to win the Royal Rumble, but Vince McMahon nixed those plans about a week or so before the show. Why is that? Because Charlotte Flair went, boo-hoo-hoo, I can't get eliminated by an NXT talent. So Vince was like, don't worry, Queen. We're going to give you the Royal Rumble and you'll be the NXT Women's Champion. That's exactly what he did. Baszler was also supposed to win the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match, and those plans were also scrapped, with the feeling that McMahon did not see her as a top star. Baszler was said to be a Paul Heyman project, and now with Heyman not handling the creative, where does Shayna go from here? So, Meltzer talked about this and Baszler's situation and disappearance, by the way. I'm not sure if you guys realize this. You might not if you're watching Monday Night Raw, but Shayna Baszler has not been on the show. Ever since that one Monday night where she was cutting those really cutthroat promos about Becky Lynch's pregnancy and Natalya, right, being a loser, we haven't seen her. So, Meltzer discussed Shayna Baszler's situation and her disappearance from WWE TV in recent weeks, and I quote, as far as her not being around, there's kind of no reason for her to be around because the program was Asuka and Nia Jax. Now, I'm going to stop right there. So before I get on to what Meltzer said here, there's no reason for her to be on television because Asuka and Nia Jax was the program. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that we were only allowed one women's program on a 3-hour show. This is what happens when you don't have a division. Shayna Baszler should be squashing women up to the top of contention for the Raw Women's Championship. But WWE does not have the liberty to do that. So why are you making excuses for these people? Why are you making excuses for the lack of a women's division? Oh, it's Asuka and Nia Jax, so Shayna Baszler doesn't need to be on TV. Why is there a lack of consistency on this show? Why am I supposed to care about Shayna Baszler if she's not actually winning matches? Yes, Shayna is great. I love Shayna. But she needs to win matches for her to be looked at in the eyes of the fans as a top contender. You just can't wait until Asuka's done with Nia Jax and then bring her to TV. She should be running through this division. Charlotte included. So continuing on with what Meltzer said. Asuka and Jax is the program, so Shayna couldn't be on TV. The next program is going to be Charlotte Flair and Asuka. We all knew that. I would not be surprised if Charlotte Flair wins the Women's Championship. It may be Charlotte and Asuka all summer, folks. I guarantee you, I could look into the fucking crystal ball. I'm going to get a crystal ball as a prop on the show. Mirror, mirror on the wall, right? Well, whatever the fuck. Maybe I'll get one of them big mirrors, whatever. I mean, I got the Magic 8 Ball in the closet. Maybe I should break that fucking thing back out. Anyway, I would not be surprised if Charlotte Flair and Asuka battle this summer with the premise of Charlotte being the one woman that Asuka cannot beat. Now, that really isn't a storyline I'm interested in. We've seen the match way too many times for me to even give a shit about any future matches. But I guarantee you, WWE is going to use that to give Charlotte Flair another token championship on Monday Night Raw, which doesn't make sense because she just lost the NXT Women's Championship and virtually did nothing to be thrusted right back into the Raw Women's Championship picture. There you go, WWE. I'm sure you're loving what you're doing. The fans clearly do not. Favoritism in WWE. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? So, Baszler was said to be a Paul Heyman project, and now with Heyman not handling the creative side of things, there are questions with what's going to happen to Shayna Baszler. So, she isn't going to be in the mix right now. At some point, Shayna was going to be back in that mix, but it wasn't going to be right now. So, when is it going to be exactly? Meltzer added, and I quote, her not being on TV may just be ... That's where Meltzer usually integrates the ums, because he can't complete a complete sentence without Keep her off TV so somebody doesn't try to beat her when they don't need to beat her, if you know what I mean, because we still want to do something with her down the line. I don't think that's it. I am going to go out on a limb here and say whatever report came out about Vince McMahon not thinking Shayna Baszler's a top star or he's not too keen on Shayna Baszler, I'm going to go with those reports being correct. Because if Vince McMahon seeing Shayna Baszler as a star, then we wouldn't be getting what we're getting on Monday Night Raw now, and she wouldn't have disappeared just out of nowhere on Monday night. So, Shayna Baszler may be fucked on Monday Night Raw, and at that point, I'd be questioning why was she even called up, sent her back down to NXT where they would use her and utilize her properly. Simple. However, Meltzer also discussed the push that she was supposed to get a few months ago and then noted that Baszler is not someone who would have been pushed a few years ago because McMahon typically goes for a certain look. So I'm not the only one who says that. If you're not blonde and if you aren't, I would say, busty, then you ain't getting pushed. Meltzer said, 10 years ago, Shayna Baszler would have a zero chance to be on the roster, let alone NXT. That's the reality. It's nothing against her, but it's against what 10 years ago the standards for wrestling was. That's what he says about Shayna Baszler. Now with Bruce Pritchard in charge, he certainly ain't going to give Shayna Baszler a look at all. Baszler may never get the same opportunities that Heyman had lined up for her. Heyman's plan was to push her as a monster here, similar to what Brock Lesnar was doing and how Brock Lesnar was pushed. Again, some of these questions may be answered as far as where Shayna Baszler goes on Monday, as soon as Monday's Raw. Like I mentioned before, Raw was taped last week. The post-show for Backlash, the Monday Night Raw following Backlash, was filmed before Backlash was filmed. So WWE did things backwards. Raw was taped last week, so bigger changes may not come until the next couple of tapings. So that is what is going on with Paul Heyman's Shayna Baszler creative. We have no idea what's coming. But as far as what Bruce has been known to do, it ain't looking good for the Queen of Spades. Now, I mentioned this, and I'm going to reiterate it again very briefly. Charlotte Flair, and Bruce is going to be all over Charlotte Flair because Charlotte Flair is a favorite of Vince McMahon's. They say Alexa Bliss is management's favorite blonde. I don't think so. Charlotte Flair is without question the management team's favorite blonde. Now, I mentioned this several times this week alone. Charlotte Flair, after losing the NXT Championship, should have been brought back to Monday Night Raw. She should have not shown face on the go-home show on Monday. You could have kept her off of TV. She's been way overexposed anyway. Bring her back on the Monday Night Raw after Backlash. Start building a feud between Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair, which could take part just based off what they did in NXT leading to WrestleMania. Bianca could get her revenge. You don't go here, etc., etc. You guys know the deal with that. Charlotte can put over Bianca. Bianca could be in contention. Asuka could feud with Shayna going into SummerSlam. Asuka drops the title to Shayna Baszler at SummerSlam. Bianca Belair's next in line to go against Shayna Baszler. Asuka can then go back to Charlotte Flair or Liv Morgan or whoever the fuck you want to push. I mean, is it that difficult? I just mapped out WWE's creative storylines for the rest of the year. So why is it so difficult for them to do? They defy logic for favoritism. It's sickening. Absolutely sickening. It's not that difficult, folks. Did I stutter? I mean, I don't even work for these fucking people, and I'm doing a better job than anybody there, including Bruce. Give me a fucking break. Paul Heyman's original intention with Drew McIntyre. He may be in trouble too. Never mind Shayna Baszler. Paul Heyman's original intention with Drew McIntyre after WrestleMania. Drew McIntyre's program with Brock Lesnar through WrestleMania 36 was an invention of Paul Heyman's that actually came to fruition. Now, that worries me. This was a Paul Heyman invention. So Vince McMahon went along with it when he was okay with it. Now Paul Heyman's not there. Is Vince McMahon going to be okay with Drew McIntyre? Now, I reported a couple of off the scripts ago that Vince McMahon's looking at Drew McIntyre as his new Roman Reigns on Monday Night Raw. How true was that report? I wouldn't mind that. Drew McIntyre needs a couple of tweaks here and there because I don't like where he's going with his character. He went from the Scottish psychopath to some fucking variation of a I would say, a more of a monster like Shawn Michaels almost. He's trying to be Shawn Michaels. He's 6'6", 250 fucking pounds. He's trying to be Shawn Michaels. He's trying to be pretty boy, sexy boy Drew McIntyre on Monday night. That's the vibe I get. I don't get this Drew McIntyre Scottish psychopath anymore. I'm getting the leather jacket, the fucking sexy beard, the hairy chest. I'm getting the fucking Playgirl vibes from Drew McIntyre. I don't think we need to be going down that road, Vince. But Drew McIntyre's program with Brock Lesnar was a Paul Heyman invention. The Wrestling Observer newsletter reported that Drew McIntyre was booked with the intention of playing a super cool babyface star. So this is a Paul Heyman invention. This was not even Vince McMahon. Heyman and Brock Lesnar worked very hard during their program to make sure he was elevated in such a way. The super cool babyface star. There's a more, less intense description compared to mine about what Drew McIntyre is. I prefer the Scottish psychopath. That's just me. He could be cool, but he could also be a psychopath. The Scottish psychopath is what I want. But he could be a babyface and you could play both of those roles. He doesn't need to be the super cool, sexy babyface star that I'm seeing on Monday night. Though I enjoy McIntyre, I do not want the blame to be on him with what's going on with the ratings and why Monday Night Raw is floundering. It has nothing to do with Drew McIntyre. It's the fucking show. I mean, Drew McIntyre isn't even in the most important thing on Monday Night Raw. Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio is actually more important, or at least portrayed to be more important, than Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship. So, it cannot be blamed on Drew McIntyre. At least, I hope not. But knowing these people, I would not be surprised if they do that. So they worked very hard to get him over in such a way. The bad part is, due to the pandemic eliminating crowds, there's absolutely no way to tell how over Drew McIntyre is with the fans. Now, McIntyre has been booked with the idea of creating a super cool babyface star of the company. It was impossible to know if it would click without the crowd reactions, but ratings didn't show life in recent weeks after McIntyre had overachieved in some segments in the build to WrestleMania and prior to the pandemic. So we don't know what's happening with Drew McIntyre. Paul Heyman was reportedly pulling for MVP to manage a champion Bobby Lashley. Those plans might actually come to fruition on Sunday night when Paul Heyman was removed. And if Vince McMahon has any feeling that, Paul Heyman is to blame and I got to get rid of everything that he did and I got to change everything he did, imagine Vince McMahon going with Bobby Lashley to win the WWE Championship on Sunday and have him lead Monday Night Raw as the top champion. Just because it's going in a different direction than what Paul Heyman had planned. Now, who knows what Paul Heyman had planned for Bobby Lashley as WWE champion? More than likely, Paul Heyman was going to create multiple title reigns for Drew McIntyre, which I don't think was a good idea anyway. Why would you even contemplate taking the title off of Drew McIntyre after you gave him such an amazing Royal Rumble that made him look like a megastar, have him win the championship at WrestleMania only to lose the WWE Championship to fucking Bobby Lashley, who's been buried for 3 years on the main roster since his second return to the company? I don't get it. At a Backlash pay-per-view. You can't be serious with that. Why don't you create memorable reigns as champion? I mean, there's more than enough people on Monday Night Raw to help aid Drew McIntyre in getting all the way through the rest of the year on to next year's WrestleMania, where you could do a variety of things, a multitude of things with Drew McIntyre, whether you want him to win or lose at WrestleMania. I don't understand why Bobby Lashley would even be a thought as far as WWE champion. I've said it for weeks. I don't know who is watching me or listening to me that thinks Bobby Lashley is a legit contender for the WWE Championship when WWE has absolutely buried this guy beyond belief for 3 years. Now all of a sudden he's beating losers on Monday Night Raw, and now all of a sudden you pair him with MVP, and I'm supposed to believe he's a WWE champion? Championship material? It's going to take a lot longer than that, a lot more than that there, Vince. But who's to say he doesn't give the title to Bobby Lashley because it's going away from what Paul Heyman wanted? Maybe he gives the title to Lashley to ultimately lose it to Lesnar because he thinks Lesnar equals ratings. He thinks Lesnar equals eyes on the product. And we all know that isn't the case. What is Lesnar going to do that somebody else can't do? The Lesnar era is over. You did it time and time and time again. You did it with Reigns, you did it with Rollins, and you did it with McIntyre. The same shit 3 times in a row with the main title and the main program on Monday Night Raw. Enough is enough already. You need something new. You need to embrace the new before you realize if it's going to work or not. I don't understand why you do and then you automatically think it's going to fail. If you have that mentality and you have that attitude going in, of course it's going to fucking fail. Why don't you give this guy the same resources and the same effort that you gave everybody else before him? Oh, he's not getting the job done in 2 months as champion. We got to take the title off of him. What type of trust is that? McIntyre came back for this? Imagine that. You give him the Rumble, you give him Mania, he wins the title in front of no fans at WrestleMania, and then is ultimately blamed for a fucking pandemic that nobody wanted. Unreal. So Heyman's original intention with Drew McIntyre may be washed away. So we'll find out on Sunday at Backlash. Speaking of Charlotte Flair, we talked about Charlotte Flair a little bit ago. Fans have started a petition online for no more Charlotte Flair title reigns. Let me tell you something, you geeks out there. It is summer of 2020, and you're online starting petitions to get Charlotte Flair off of television and no more Charlotte Flair title reigns. There's a difference between what I do here and what I say in complaint of Charlotte Flair and what you do as far as starting a petition goes. The difference is I'm going to record this, I'm going to upload it, and then I'm going to go to the fucking beer hall and get trashed. The difference for you is you're starting petitions online over pro wrestling and you live in your mother's basement with no fucking life. Pimply-faced geeks is what you are. You gotta be ridiculous. Yes, I get it. Charlotte Flair is overexposed. Yes, I get it. Charlotte Flair shouldn't be in the championship program every time you blink. Every time you turn on the show, she's in a title program or a champion on this show. I get it. But there's no reason to start a petition. You're wasting your fucking energy. WWE will not listen to you. She's blonde. You want Charlotte Flair off of television and away from a title? Have her go the Becky Lynch route and dye her hair red. Then she'll be away from the title program. This is what the petition said. Society has progressed past the need for another Charlotte Flair title reign. We are tired of Charlotte's reigns. The 4 horsewomen in general, but we're starting with Charlotte. Oh, that's funny. I want to see more Sasha. You're tired of the 4 horsewomen in general? One of them's off making babies and the other 2 are not respected by the company. So you're starting with Charlotte. Charlotte's the only one that needs to be off of television. One is already in the can. The other 2, I want more of. The petition has only 560 plus signatures. Now, it may be more. I haven't looked. I don't really care to look. But it's over 560 signatures. So if you guys want to go find this, I'm sure it's floating around on social media. I thought that was funny. Fans have started a petition for no more Charlotte Flair reigns. Why don't you actually put your energy to good and start a petition to get Vince McMahon out of fucking office? That would make a lot, much more of a difference than fucking Charlotte Flair having no more title reigns. Moving on with the Charlotte Flair news, she says this, and I quote, "Am I not supposed to want to be on top?" Now, I could have made a joke, but I'll refrain. Charlotte Flair says, "Am I not supposed to want to be on top?" Charlotte Flair, all over WWE, as you know. In a recent interview with Sportskeeda, Flair talked about all the appearances she's been making. She also mentioned the reactions she's gotten from fans frustrated by her constantly being on television. This is what she says, and I quote, "I don't know how that came about. Like, we talked about this before. I really do think my consistency is a detriment to people missing me. I feel like I'm doing some of my best work right now of my career, promo-wise and in-ring-wise, but because people see me all the time, I think they're used to it, and the expectation is so high, and it's so frustrating because it's like, well, am I not supposed to be hungry? Am I not supposed to always want to be on top? Am I not supposed to be a fighting champion to get better? I don't know. It's like a catch-22, she says. I think the biggest thing for me, yes, I am on all three brands. But if you look at my storylines that I'm a part of, I'm a part of someone else's storyline. It's not like anything is a Charlotte Flair push." Are you fucking serious? Can she be any more stupid? It's not a Charlotte Flair push. The fact that you're on show to show to show is a Charlotte Flair push. The more you're on TV, that means they are pushing you, Miss Flair. Doesn't matter in what context. If you're on TV as much as anybody else, that means you're getting a push. I don't see anybody else on all three shows. Like, there's nothing that I'm just there because I can basically do anything and everything they ask. Like, going to SmackDown was not for me. That's not a push. Of course it is. They're showing you off as NXT Women's Champion. Of course it's a fucking push. They're pushing NXT. You're getting brand recognition for NXT on Friday night. Of course it's a fucking push. That is Charlotte Flair. And Charlotte Flair is a name. And she's coming to SmackDown. So currently I'm just all over the place, brand-wise, because I am the hardest worker. And I will say that for the women. You're the hardest worker for the women. How could you say you're the hardest worker for the women when they're fucking parading you around on all three shows and leaving all these other fucking women in the back on no shows? How do you know who's the hardest worker and who's not when nobody on the roster or in the locker room is getting anywhere a tenth of the opportunity that you're getting? This woman is a blithering idiot. I don't get it. How do you come on Sportskeeda or any interview and give the answer that you just gave here? It's not a push. Of course it's a fucking push. NXT's getting represented. You're on Friday night because WWE somehow thinks putting you on the show is going to equal ratings. Of course it's a fucking push. They put you on Friday night for no reason. You don't need to be on Friday night. That one instance in which you were on Friday night did nothing. You actually made Bayley and Sasha Banks' storyline worse because they interjected you into something that they should be doing themselves. We don't need Charlotte Flair's influence on what's happening on Friday night when she has nothing to do with Friday night. Just like when she was on Monday and she belittled the Raw Women's Championship and the Women's Tag Team Championships because Charlotte Flair isn't in possession of those championships. Everybody's a loser who holds a championship. Give me a break. Am I not supposed to want to be on top? Here's a clue, Miss Flair. You could still be on top while actually helping your division or your women's roster. Something that you don't have any idea of, period. I don't even think you have an idea of how to make the division better. It's all about you. It's all about Charlotte Flair. There's a difference about being on top and there's a difference about being on top the way Charlotte Flair is wanting to be on top. Charlotte Flair wants to be on top because she wants to be the only female that matters in WWE, which equates to her being selfish, which equates to a dead division. She wants everybody underneath her to be so irrelevant that she will never have competition as long as she is an active in-ring worker for the WWE. That is everything I would never want on my roster. There's a thing about being on top the way Charlotte Flair wants to be on top, and then there's the one that I would want for my women. There's another way to be on top that every woman should want to be a part of, and that is actively help the division. So if you being on top for the last 5 years, which is enough for more than every women's division in the fucking world, there's one thing about you being on top the way you want to be on top. You could still be on top by actually helping your division be the best women's division in all of pro wrestling, which you apparently do not want. You could still be on top by helping others get over. You should be in a situation right now where you take a step or three back and you start helping those underneath you, because a division will thrive when everybody is at least closer to where you are or equal to where you are. But you don't want that. You don't want that. And that's why I will say every single week that the women's division on the main roster on Raw and on SmackDown is absolutely fucking terrible. That's why I will always be against what Charlotte Flair represents. She does nothing to make the women's division better. You could be great at what you do. You could be the best wrestler in the entire division. You can tell great stories. But when it's all about you, and everybody else is dying for an opportunity that will never come, that doesn't make you a legend. That makes you a selfish bitch. That's all that makes you. I'm sorry. The removal of Charlotte Flair, or Charlotte Flair being on TV less, will actually help the division. Charlotte Flair, no questions asked, should not be feuding with Asuka over the Raw Women's Championship. She should be putting over Bianca Belair on Monday night. Otherwise, what is the reason why you brought up Bianca Belair to Raw? I don't get it. But no, she doesn't want that. She wants to be the 16-time, 17-time women's champion. For what? For what? You're already in the fucking Hall of Fame. You could fucking coast the rest of your career and you would be in the Hall of Fame. You could go and have babies like Becky Lynch with Andrade. You would be in the Hall of Fame tomorrow. So why not take this opportunity to help make the division, which right now is dying, it is anything but a revolution, better? Please don't get me in a discussion about Charlotte Flair. I will fucking bury every single one of you. One of the most overrated and selfish talents in all of my years watching this product is Charlotte Flair. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, this is worse than the Roman Reigns agenda. You heard it here first. Charlotte Flair, continuing with believe me, there's a ton of it. Charlotte Flair wants to compete for a major WWE men's title. How about no? You have 3 women's championships on the main roster. One in NXT, which you killed this year. By killing that, you killed Rhea Ripley. By killing Rhea Ripley, you killed any momentum she had in NXT. And you almost killed the entire division if it went on any further. But as NXT Women's Champion, you killed Raw, you killed SmackDown, you killed NXT. What else you want to kill? Now you want to kill the men's division as well? Leave it to Bruce to book some stupidity like this. While speaking with Sportskeeda in the same interview, Charlotte Flair opened up that she wants to go after a men's title, but the big picture might not see that as a possibility. Yeah, because this is an Impact. Impact only made Tessa Blanchard the women's champion because they did it for attention. WWE, well, I guess WWE does need attention, but they don't need to be stooping to the lows of Impact to make a woman the men's champion. Give me a break. There's a reason why there's divisions. Men's, women's, cruiserweights, X division, tag teams. You name it. There are divisions, and in each division, there's a championship. It's not that difficult to figure out, folks. When you start bleeding the women's roster into the men's roster and have the women go after the men's title, then you devalue the championships, no question, and then you start suspending the fucking belief of what you're actually watching. You're ruining the whole aura of pro wrestling. Because no matter how good Tessa Blanchard is, and no matter how good her and Sami Callihan had of a feud together, not everybody could be a fucking Tessa Blanchard. You're not going to put a Liv Morgan in the ring against a fucking AJ Styles. You're not going to put a Naomi in the ring with a Braun Strowman. Give me a break. You're not going to have any of that happen. It doesn't make sense. There are once-in-a-lifetime athletes. I can't no matter how good Charlotte Flair is, I cannot see her in the ring with another male. I can't, let alone winning the championship. Impact did it because Tessa Blanchard is one of the greatest female performers on the planet. And she is cut of a different cloth. That's why her and Sami Callihan work so well. Plus, on top of that, no matter how good of a feud or matches they had, Impact did it because they needed some impact, legitimately. And they thought by making a woman the men's champion, it would gain them some notoriety, it would gain them some traction. They were just moving to Access TV, and none of it worked. Now she's been off TV for 3 months. They're probably going to strip her of the championship. They brought back the old TNA championship and put it on Moose, and now Tessa Blanchard has problems with Impact management, which will more than likely result in her leaving. And where's she going to go? WWE is going to throw all this money at her. Why? Because they need to feed Charlotte Flair someone else that everybody thinks is better than Charlotte Flair. They will not stop until Charlotte Flair is the absolute greatest female to have ever lived in pro wrestling. You can't do that if you don't have Tessa Blanchard in your ring in WrestleMania for a Charlotte-Tessa Blanchard match. That's it. The women, if you want another WrestleMania main event, or if you even want to sniff another Evolution pay-per-view, that right there, that's the one match that I would actually pay for. Even though we all know the result, that is the one match that could main event any WWE show, period. So that's what I think is going to happen. Could she go to AEW? I don't know. Why would she want to go to AEW? She's going to go there, she's going to be the top of the fucking division, and that's it. Meanwhile, AEW has done nothing to really build a division, period, outside of what we've seen on TV. There's little effort going into the division. Why do you want to go in to AEW's women's division when there really isn't much to do? Meanwhile, in WWE, if she goes to NXT, she's got plenty to do. She'll go to Raw. Even though Raw and SmackDown, I don't want to see anybody go to Raw and SmackDown. There'll be plenty for her to do. Can you imagine Tessa versus Bianca, or Tessa versus Ruby, Tessa versus Sasha, Tessa versus Bayley, Tessa versus Shayna? I think that'd be great. Tessa versus Asuka, Tessa versus Kairi again. Rematch from the Mae Young Classic. There's more for her to do in WWE, but even then, it's a risk. Because you know you're coming in, and they're going to immediately build you up to be fed to Charlotte. Because that's exactly what they did with Asuka. Nobody is safe. Nobody is safe. Bayley, Sasha, Becky, Asuka, they were all fed to Charlotte Flair. You will be no different, especially being an outsider coming on in to the WWE family. Oh, forget about it. You're done. No matter what you want to do, your ceiling ends at Charlotte. She wants to compete for a men's championship. She says, and I quote, "It's something that I want to pursue, but if you look at the big picture, when women are succeeding in different organizations all around the world, we're all succeeding and we're all winning from that. So for her to hold that accolade is just, we should support and just be extremely," I guess she was talking about Tessa winning the Impact Wrestling World Heavyweight Championship. "We should just support and be extremely proud as women to see her do that, because when one's doing well, we're all doing well." And that is exactly what she's talking about here, the women's revolution. And we're working harder, we're working better in the numbers. So it's not something that I think right now about, but I couldn't be more proud and happy for what she is doing for women all around the world. So I'm assuming she was talking about Tessa Blanchard. So that's that. Charlotte Flair in a men's championship title picture? I don't think so. I think that is absolutely taking 20 steps backwards. Nobody needs it. Nobody wants it. You want a way to completely turn off everybody from what WWE is already doing? You want to drive more viewers away? Then that's what you do. I don't think anybody is going to go for that. So I think they should steer clear of that completely. The initial backstage plans for Charlotte when she was in NXT, that did not happen. According to Sportskeeda. Again, WWE actually had plans for Charlotte to feud with almost all of the women on NXT, at least briefly. Some of them were getting built up, taking the title, per Sportskeeda. But according to them, WWE decided to make a change with Becky Lynch going on hiatus. Lynch revealed her pregnancy on the May 11th edition of Monday Night Raw and handed the Raw Women's Championship to Asuka, which we all know, stemming from her winning Money in the Bank. Without Lynch, the main roster, or the main star in the WWE Women's Division, the main roster was without their biggest star. The decision was reportedly made to bring in Charlotte because they needed somebody to take Becky Lynch's spot. So Sportskeeda also noted that the Raw Women's Division is heel heavy, with Asuka and tag team partner and friend Kairi Sane turning face. Add it all up, and it made perfect sense to them to bring in Charlotte as a heel back over to Monday Night Raw after her loss of the NXT Women's Championship. So now Charlotte is back on the main roster with Ripley and Shirai leading the way in the NXT Women's Division. So we don't know what's going to happen with that. Rhea Ripley's got a whole fucking can of worms herself to take care of. And Asuka right now, Charlotte, more than likely going to be the main program going into SummerSlam for the Raw Women's Championship. And I hope to God that we don't see Charlotte back on NXT anytime soon, if not ever. Again. So that was the plan for Charlotte Flair in NXT. They had her almost running through all of the division. Which, I mean, the little time that she was there and the fact that she even held the NXT Women's Championship did nothing. She killed the title. She killed Rhea Ripley's momentum. She killed the division. So I don't see how she killed the fans' fucking interest in anything that she did. Whatever interest you had in Charlotte Flair, the fact that you've seen her on all three shows killed any interest you had in Charlotte Flair at all. It did nothing. There's not one woman in that entire reign that looked better for it, with Charlotte Flair being the NXT Women's Champion. Io Shirai didn't even pin Charlotte Flair to become the NXT Women's Champion. She pinned Rhea Ripley to win the NXT Women's Championship in a triple threat match because WWE, God forbid, pins Charlotte Flair in a match. They can't make their queen look inferior to everybody else. If that doesn't give away how they feel about the rest of the roster, man, I don't know what will. Man, how many of you guys are actually happy with your wallet situation? I'm gonna say half of you at least are not happy with your wallet situation. That's why I'm here to help you this summer. You don't want to go out to the bars, you don't want to go out to the clubs, you don't want to go out and take your girl out to dinner while pulling out this decrepit, ripped, beaten down old wallet now, do you? I got you covered, man. The video today, off the script today, is brought to you by my good friends over at The Ridge. The Ridge wallet, man. Take a look at it. This is forged carbon with a money clip. I love it. It's light, it's sleek, it's industrial looking, it doesn't fold or awkwardly bulge in your back pocket, and it seriously changed my personal situation, my entire outlook on wallets in general. Most people are still using wallets designed in the 90s, carrying around old receipts, hotel room cards, gift cards, pictures that you don't care for, business cards, etc., etc. Why have we moved from large flip phones to smartphones but still carry the same wallet is what I want to know. I don't get it. So The Ridge, these are the features about The Ridge, man. I'm going to convince you to go out there and up your wallet game. It holds up to 12 cards, plus room for cash. There's over 30 colors and styles, including carbon fiber, burnt titanium, and my favorite, the forged carbon. I really love it. Don't take my word for it. They got 30,000 5-star reviews. The durable materials mean each wallet comes with a lifetime warranty. You could buy one wallet and own it for the rest of your life. The Ridge team is also confident that you will like it, that they will give you a test drive with the wallet for 45 days. If you don't like it, they'll give you a full refund. And make sure you guys check out The Ridge on their website. If you guys are interested in The Ridge, ridge.com/script. Why I love it, it's got RFID blocking qualities. Like I said, it looks sleek, it looks stylish. and it doesn't scratch, bend, or fold, man. It looks great. That RFID blocking quality feature makes sure my cards, my ID, and credit cards are safe and secure. Guys, get 10% off today by going to ridge.com/script. Free worldwide shipping. Code SCRIPT at checkout. Once again, that is ridge.com/script. Use code SCRIPT at checkout for 10% off, and I want to thank them for supporting today's Off the Script. Man, there was one thing on social media this week that I've seen a lot of people in the community kind of poking fun at, making fun of, and that is the Wednesday night ratings with NXT and AEW. I've seen a lot of people making fun of the fact that the season finale of Total Bellas, where Nikki Bella had her gender reveal with her husband on the season finale of the show. I think maybe Brie had a gender reveal as well. I'm not sure. One of them had a gender reveal. Not like I watch Total Bellas anyway. But a lot of people in the community were making fun that Total Bellas actually drew a bigger rating than both AEW Dynamite and NXT on Wednesday night. A lot of those same people are kind of happy, and they're poking fun that AEW had lost over 500,000 viewers since their initial debut on TNT, and NXT is no better. They're both in the same boat. Now, I don't understand why people are poking fun at Wednesday nights. I don't know why people are poking fun at AEW Dynamite and NXT. No matter what the shows do, no matter what AEW does, no matter what NXT does, I enjoy myself on Wednesday night. I watch 4 hours of wrestling every single Wednesday night. I watch Dynamite, I do the review, I go back and watch NXT, and I wake up, I get ready for the live stream on Thursday where I talk about NXT. I love it. I think it's great. Wednesday is the one night where I don't complain about anything. I just feel good about what I'm watching. Now, is it perfect? Is NXT a perfect show? Is AEW a perfect show? No, but they're not Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. That's all I ask for. That's all I ask for. Now, of course, people are not watching AEW and NXT because there's no fans. These two shows rely on the fans more so than Monday and Friday night. And when you don't have that, it's as if they are being portrayed like Monday and Friday night. That's what makes them stand out above everything. That's what makes them stand out from the pack in pro wrestling. There's no fan bases like an NXT or an AEW fan base. So that's why it's missing. That's why the ratings are down. Plus, with the world climate, people are prone to watching the lamestream media. So when things go back to normal and things start easing up in the world climate, then I do think that people will go back to watching what they once loved, and that is pro wrestling. But right now, there are some other things in the world that are going to take precedent over professional wrestling. Professional wrestling will always be there. You know, and these people don't take into account the DVR aspect. I DVR NXT and watch it on DVR at 1 o'clock in the morning on Thursday morning. Same thing with AEW. People do that with AEW. They may watch NXT and DVR AEW. Some people may DVR NXT and watch AEW. You know, it doesn't really matter what's going on with the ratings. So get that out of your system. It doesn't really matter. Things will inevitably, eventually, go back to normal. Now, AEW Dynamite on TNT and NXT both dropped in viewership. Both shows were substantially down in the key demos. Dynamite averaged 677,000 viewers on Wednesday, down 7.3% from last week. It was the third lowest viewership total for the show on TNT. In the 18 to 49 demo, Dynamite finished 14th on cable with a 0.23 rating, down 21% from the previous week. Now, on Wednesday, apparently FS1 had NASCAR broadcast, and that drew 1.711 million viewers and a 0.30 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic. That might have taken viewers away from both NXT and AEW. Why is that? A, I don't watch NASCAR. You couldn't pay me all the coffee in the world to watch fucking NASCAR. One of the most boring sports ever. But there are people that I know personally that like watching NASCAR. And not even that aspect of it It's another sport finally back on national television that has been gone for way too long. So people are probably like, oh shit, NASCAR's back. I'm going to stop watching AEW and I'm going to watch NASCAR. Maybe I'll watch AEW or NXT on DVR on a Thursday or Friday when I have some free time. So NASCAR drew a 1.711 million viewership on Wednesday night. NXT averaged 673,000 viewers. So AEW barely beat NXT this week, down 5.9% from last week. In the 18 to 49 demo, the show averaged a 0.16 rating, down 20%, and a very similar drop to Dynamite. NXT was 35th on cable in that demographic. The total combined audience of 1.35 million viewers was the 5th lowest since both shows debuted on cable last October. As usual, AEW won every ratings demo, going head-to-head with NXT, except people over 50, where NXT had a 0.36 rating to AEW's 0.31 rating. AEW's best categories were actually people over 50 and men 18 to 49, which averaged an identical 0.31 rating. Dynamite was good. I won't say it was a great show, but it was good. FTR made their in-ring debut, the former Revival. They went against the Butcher and the Blade. Really good stuff there. Really good tag team match. Cody defended his TNT Championship, his second TNT Championship title defense against Mark Quinn of Private Party. We got also Moxley being beat up by Brian Cage, building to their match at Fyter Fest. And WWE is doing the same thing with NXT. They're building towards that July 1st, that July 8th show. Those 2 weeks, they're going to be head-to-head with AEW Dynamite. I'm already hearing that NXT is going to be setting up some major title matches to go head-to-head with AEW Dynamite during Fyter Fest over those next 2 weeks. So they're going to be getting a lot better with what they do presentation-wise and the ratings. So give them some time. And I don't think people realize that we're still in the middle of things being closed down and shut down. It's not the end of the world. Just go out there and enjoy it. On NXT, we had Finn Balor versus Cameron Grimes. Really good stuff there. We had Johnny Gargano and his wife, Candice LeRae, against Yimitless. Give me a break. Keith Lee and Mia Yim, they're calling them the Yimitless crew, or whatever the fuck they're calling them. Awful. Main roster fucking garbage. Main roster verbiage, which I don't really care for coming out of Morrow's mouth. I really don't. And then they had Adam Cole and Dexter Lumis, who I love, man. Dexter Lumis is fucking beast. He is going to be a star in WWE. Subtle hints of Randy Orton, subtle hints of The Undertaker, all throughout his gimmick and the way he works a match. He lost to Adam Cole, but Dexter Lumis has been built up so great over NXT TV over the last couple of weeks. It really doesn't matter that he lost to Adam Cole. Adam Cole's the NXT champion going on 400 days. And then at the end of the match, Velveteen Dream came in. He interjected himself in the Undisputed Era and Dexter Lumis saga. And then Adam Cole was stared down by Scarlett Bordeaux with an hourglass. The sands in the hourglass are draining. And the time left on Adam Cole's title reign is coming to an end. Karrion Kross was built up as the next in line for Adam Cole. Also on this show, Keith Lee said he wants a piece of Adam Cole, which exactly is what I said. That's what I would go with. In fact, I mean, I don't know what you're doing with Gargano and the North American Championship. They're all over the place. Keith Lee is making passes at Adam Cole for the NXT Championship. Meanwhile, Johnny Gargano pinned Keith Lee on NXT. Finn Balor is making an attempt at the North American Championship. Karrion Kross is being thrusted into the main event against Adam Cole for the NXT Championship. A ton of moving parts. I would actually have Keith Lee drop the title to whoever and then go after Adam Cole and the NXT Championship. I would have Keith Lee beat Adam Cole for the NXT Championship, and I would have Keith Lee be the man there. Adam Cole gets called up, and then you start building Keith Lee versus Karrion Kross. I don't know why you would have Karrion Kross and Adam Cole for the NXT Championship. Because whatever happened to Tommaso Ciampa is more than likely, inevitably, going to happen to Adam Cole. And I don't think Adam Cole deserves that after holding the title for 400 days. Not right. Not really right at all. Plus, the aspect of Karrion Kross beating who? He's beaten nobody to even warrant a championship match. Give me a break. People have been there for years that have never gotten an opportunity. And WWE is showing you exactly how they operate. He's got the look, he's got the size, he's got the blonde. Let's put him in the main event. That's exactly what they're looking for. Everybody that's been there who's never received the championship match against Adam Cole or whoever the champion is, how long you been there? How long did it take this guy to come walking on into NXT and get a championship match? He's had one fucking takeover. And now he's championship material in their eyes. I don't appreciate that. NXT has gone away from being patient and building to throwing everything at one guy because he's got the look and the size that they want. I don't like that. Putting Cross in the main event against Cole is a deviation away from everything that made NXT special. I don't really understand what Triple H is doing here. Now, he could have a reason for doing that. If he does ultimately end up going with that, he could have a reason. Maybe he's giving Cross the championship because he knows Vince McMahon inevitably is going to come calling for Cross. I want this guy. Fuck Adam Cole. I want this guy on the main roster. So maybe Triple H thinks by giving him the championship, it is going to keep carrying Cross on NXT a little bit longer. I don't know. I don't want to start making excuses for these people because NXT is the brand that we go for or go to for storylines, storytelling, and long-term booking, which right now we haven't seen much of in recent weeks. So that was your Wednesday night recap there. AEW and NXT bolt down. AEW wins the ratings just by a barely small margin. Monday Night Raw, man. I laugh. It's the greatest comedy show in the history of entertainment. Monday Night Raw. Everywhere you look this year, Monday Night Raw, if you look at the worst ratings in the history of Monday Night Raw, the 28 years in Monday Night Raw history, the worst ratings for the show will have happened in 2020. If you look at the top 5, every single week in the last month or month and a half, they've accumulated the worst rating in the history of the show. How terrible is that? That the worst that the show has ever produced has come at its current state. Monday Night Raw averaged 1.74 million viewers, up 9,000 viewers from last week, making it the 4th lowest show in the show's modern history. The episode had the usual patterns with a normal level drop during the show. Raw did a 0.53 in the 18 to 49 demo, up 8% from last week, even though viewership overall was almost identical. That's all that USA Network cares about. They understand about the ratings being low as far as the actual rating, but the demographic in the 18 to 49, it's up 8% from last week. So I'm sure they're happy about that. Raw tied for 3rd place in the demo since the demo news shows were at a much lower level than last week. Overall, Raw was 23rd on cable for the night and 4th amongst non-news shows. The top 2 shows were episodes of 90 Day Fiancé on TLC, which did 3.36 million and 2.67 million viewers, and a 1.03 and a 0.78 in the 18 to 49 for those 2 shows. Raw was down 18.3% from the same week last year. Where did everybody go? I don't know. But that show went head-to-head with an NBA playoff game that did 18.22 million viewers last year and was also the all-time non-holiday low up until that point in the show's history, which shows how much the bottom number has dropped over the past year. I wish I had Bray Wyatt's laughter cued in on my soundboard, man. The first to third hour drops were 15% with women 18 to 49, 14% for men 18 to 49, 32% with teenage girls, while teenage boys increased 4% from hour 1 to hour 3, and over 50 dropped 9%. The 3 hours were 8 p.m., 1.83 million, 9 p.m., 1.79, and 10 p.m., 1.60. So there you go, folks. There you go. I really don't understand Monday Night Raw. I really don't get it. But it is what it is. I believe the main event was Bobby Lashley and MVP versus the Viking Raiders, if I'm not mistaken. Meanwhile, the Viking Raiders are being built up for the tag team championships, but you put them in a situation where you had them lose. So why would I take them seriously against the Street Profits for the Raw Tag Team Championships? I don't understand it. And then, speaking of the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders, they had a decathlon, which was not entertaining whatsoever. This is Monday Night Raw's current state of the tag team division. Rollins is still building with Mysterio and Dominic. He offered Dominic a spot on Monday Night Raw to come say what he has to say next week. We'll find out what happens there. Aleister Black and Humberto, it's all the same shit. Garza and Andrade. Andrade's getting a championship match against Apollo Crews at the pay-per-view. Who cares? It was a triple threat match with Andrade, Garza, and Kevin Owens. They see upside in Garza is what I'd like to see, or at least I hope so in WWE's eyes. Kevin Owens can't lose, so that's why those guys didn't lose. But Andrade, he's expendable. He's expendable, so that's why he's going to Backlash to fight Apollo Crews for the United States Championship. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all Monday Night Raw. I don't know what else happened on Monday Night Raw because I barely get to this point in the week and look back at Monday Night Raw. I can't wait for Monday Night Raw to be over, and when we get on into the week and I record the podcast, I want nothing to do with Monday Night Raw. So if you're looking for a recap, the Raw review is down in the description. Go and check it out. I talk about it and give you all that I need, or all that you need, all that I know on Monday Night Raw. So go check it out. Oh, Charlotte Flair and all this shit. We talked about Charlotte. Listen, the entire review was about Charlotte Flair. 52 minutes of the open of Monday Night Raw was all about Charlotte Flair. It was the Charlotte Flair show. It was the night to complain about Charlotte Flair, so it's a good one. Go and check it out. Nia Jax, who you might not know is challenging Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. WWE wrestlers blame Nia Jax for what happened to Kairi Sane. Now, Ryback actually stood up for Nia Jax. I don't have exactly what had happened on his podcast and what he said in regards to Nia Jax. Maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow on the live stream for the Backlash pre-show. But there were reports that some people in WWE were not blaming Nia Jax for hurting Kairi Sane. Some people did blame Nia Jax. One person, a top WWE superstar, actually anonymously went to Brian Alvarez and texted Brian Alvarez that it was 1,000% Nia Jax's fault. Now, the match, which was taped last week, featured a spot where Jax whipped Kairi Sane into the ring steps, which resulted in Sane hitting her head on the steps that caused her to be busted open. You didn't see it because WWE heavily edited the match. In post-production, WWE made edits to the match to hide the footage of the blood coming from Kairi's head. The match was stopped in order for Sane to be cleaned up by doctors. They resumed the match and went to the finish. Meltzer reported in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter that Jax is being blamed for the incident. One veteran wrestler who watched the contest, says Meltzer, while it aired on television, stated she didn't whip her. She grabbed her by the head and threw her, shoved her into the steps. It was 100% Nia's fault. She never let Kairi find her balance after pulling her out of the ring. She then pushed her head down so Kairi would be unable to see where she was going, and then she threw her forward, head first, balanced towards the steps. Kairi had zero chance, end quote. So this is another top guy that reached out to Meltzer, never mind the anonymous source that went to Alvarez. How many more people do we anonymously need going to Wrestling Observer saying that it was Nia's fault, folks? One thing is for certain, Nia is a cosplay wrestler that needs to be in the performance center learning how to wrestle. If not, termination. Along with Paul Heyman. Another person told Meltzer that while the word going around backstage is that it was not Nia's fault, by watching the spot on television, it did look to be 100% her fault. As of this report, there's still no word on how serious the injury to Kairi Sane is. The only thing about her status of the injury is that Sane is said to be okay. So she is in a championship match against Asuka at Backlash, and I hope she doesn't do the same to Asuka. We don't know, man. It's not even a case where Nia Jax is in the ring to see how she's getting better. It's more of a point on if she's in the ring and she's on the show and she's got a match, what she's going to do and who she's going to do it to and how badly she's going to injure somebody. That's the fun thing about watching Nia Jax. Now, who's next? Never mind Goldberg. I think WWE should take that from Goldberg and bring it over to Nia Jax and incorporate that into her gimmick. Who's next for Nia Jax? Seriously. Nia in a championship match is pathetic enough. The fact that this woman is still a professional wrestler and still has a job with this company is downright fucking abysmal. That and I'm going to use my word of the week, that is egregious. Anything Nia Jax wrestling related is egregious. Where does Nia Jax go after inevitably losing to Asuka at Backlash? Hopefully unemployment. Jinder Mahal, speaking of unemployment, Jinder Mahal, he was slated to go one-on-one with Drew McIntyre sometime this summer for the WWE Championship. Thank the fucking Christ almighty that we're not getting that. This is the man single-handedly known for almost killing SmackDown in 2017, but now he is injured again. What happened, I don't know. Jinder Mahal injury is far worse than expected. Now, granted, let me get this out there. I don't want anybody to have a career-ending injury. But if this is keeping Jinder Mahal away from the WWE title, then I think we're in good spirits here. Jinder Mahal just returned from a knee injury, and now he's back on the shelf. And believe me, when we talked about Paul Heyman's plans, I don't know if Paul Heyman's plans included Jinder Mahal winning the WWE Championship from Drew McIntyre. Now that Jinder is now working with Bruce and Vince on Monday Night Raw in the Bruce era, who's to say when he comes back, he won't be given the WWE Championship? I don't know. Now, Mahal revealed, first of all, he's back on the shelf. This is an unfortunate situation for the modern-day Maharaja, but it wasn't expected to be this bad. Mahal revealed last week that he had to go get another knee surgery done. Now he will be out of action even longer. The Wrestling Observer newsletter reported that Mahal's injury was only supposed to be minor until his doctor got a closer look during surgery. Mahal underwent knee surgery this past week in Birmingham. And when you go to Birmingham, you're going to be out for a while. Originally, it was scheduled to be a minor surgery, but the damage ended up being more significant than expected. Prior to this injury, there were plans for Mahal to face Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. Now those plans are seemingly on hold, if not canceled entirely. So WWE did scrap this feud, and Lewis of WrestleTalk.com reports that Paul Heyman had big plans for Mahal. So I guess that goes against what I just stated. I don't know if Mahal had plans via Paul Heyman. I would say more so Vince McMahon. But Paul Heyman, in the Paul Heyman era, there were big plans for Jinder Mahal. Per the report, there were plans to have him feud with McIntyre over the WWE Championship at some point. I think that is very well known amongst everybody. I was predicting SummerSlam for that to take place. It was noted that this wasn't slated to be a long-term feud, but rather Mahal to get a significant push at some stage and challenge for the title. Clearly, those plans have been put on hold, if not canceled altogether. And the two stars have been talking about wanting a feud with each other for quite some time now. Instead, Drew McIntyre is getting Bobby Lashley, and we may see Bobby Lashley win the WWE Championship at Backlash on Sunday. So Mahal is out. I don't know when he's coming back. A couple big injuries on WWE's roster. Elias is out for 8 months, which we talked about yesterday. Mahal is going to be out. Who knows? He may be out the rest of the year. I have no idea. Not like Monday Night Raw needs him, but for someone that was out for 8 or 9 months, came back, looked good, and now is on the shelf again for possibly the same amount of time, I don't know, man. And who's to say WWE's even going to give him another opportunity when he comes back? Because an injury like this, after being injured, coming back, and then getting injured again for the same amount of time, WWE may look at him like a Samoa Joe, injury prone. They might not want to give him the championship, period, because he may not be trusted to stay healthy. So we'll see what happens when Mahal comes back to television. This just is another bump in the road for the modern-day failure Raha on Monday night. Finally, guys, we're going to end with this one. This just goes to show you that WWE's creative is a bunch of fucking blithering idiots. Erick Rowan broke his silence on what was really in the cage all of those weeks before Drew McIntyre ultimately killed his spider. So Rowan was actually interviewed, and he was interviewed and said this about what was in the cage. I put stuff in there just in case somebody peeked through. You never know if something was going to fall out. Nobody told me to do it. I just put stuff in there just in case. One time I made a stuffed animal. Just stupid things, so if someone looked through, there was a shape. I didn't know what was going to be in there. Now, I don't know what was happening there. or what the storyline was going to be with Erick Rowan. And the way that it ended up, it almost acted as if WWE didn't even want to have anything in there. They just gave him this burlap sack to just have some sort of interest on WWE TV. I don't even think WWE Creative had any idea what to fucking put in the cage when they came up with this concept. So he took it upon himself to put something in the cage. I am wondering how you ask someone to act like that, or act like they love the thing that is in there and convey certain emotions without actually knowing what the reveal is. Of course, if you had told him it was going to be a mechanical spider, he probably would have gotten real upset. Was he upset about the angle and the ultimate reveal? I was always figured in somehow, so I couldn't really be upset. I had the cage, whatever that was, but it kept me on television. Good or bad, it kept me on television. That's what I always say to people, good or bad, you try to make the best of what you got. Sometimes you can make good out of it, sometimes the writing is the writing. I don't know what happened. End quote. In this case, the writing for Erick Rowan was fucking terrible. Rowan is one of those guys that's, honestly, you looked at and you wondered why they broke him away from Luke Harper, really. Or why they didn't bring Luke Harper to pair him back with Erick Rowan on Monday Night Raw. You broke both of them away from the Wyatt family. When Bray Wyatt did what he did and went about the Fiend, Erick Rowan and Luke Harper had nothing to do. They stayed a tag team. WWE split them up again, and you knew they were going to fail inevitably solo. Erick Rowan is just not the type of guy that's going to get over in a big singles role on WWE television. He's just going to be another ordinary, formulaic, big guy with nothing to do. He had direction with Luke Harper, and WWE killed his run and his career, and that's why they let him go. That had nothing to do with him. So they gave him this gimmick, and they didn't even know what to do with it when they gave it to him. They had no idea what to do with the cage. It was just there. Hopefully to build intrigue. What has he got in the cage? What is it? Who is it? When are we going to see the reveal? And then when it happened, WWE killed the spider, they killed the cage, and they killed Erick Rowan, and before long, he was gone. The push was derailed when he went to Raw. That's when he got stuck with the cage. What's next for him? I don't know. But he said in a recent interview, it would be cool if he landed in All Elite Wrestling. Eric Redbeard in AEW. Maybe. We'll see what happens. Guys, I'm getting out of here. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, I would appreciate a thumbs up. Follow me on social media at JDfromNY206. That's on Twitter and Instagram. Check the description for all the other content, including Off the Script, 3:30, part number 1, and SmackDown from Friday. And I will be back tomorrow, pre-show for Backlash early in the afternoon. You'll see the notification in your sub boxes. And I'll be back post-Backlash with an official live review right here on Off the Script. Patreon.com/JDfromNY206 if you guys want to support. Follow me on Twitter at JDfromNY206 and live tweet with me during the show tomorrow. And go get yourself a Ridge. Ridge.com/script. Guys, I'll see you on the pre-show for Backlash tomorrow at noon. And until then, have a great Saturday. And I'll be right back here all day Sunday for your Backlash coverage on Off the Script. See you guys later.